Order. Members, I think, should know that it's not appropriate to challenge the chair or to ridicule decisions of the chair. And with that in mind, and assuming it won't happen in the future, I go to the honourable member for Carleton.
Mr. Speaker, this government has blacked out the numbers related to the cost of the carbon tax on middle-class Canadians. But they could tell Canadians today, they could end the carbon tax cover-up and tell the truth. How much will this carbon tax cost the average Canadian household?
Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, in 2015, Canadians made a choice. They chose a government that understands that the environment and the economy go together. Let me talk about the costs. The cost of climate change by 2020 will be over $5 billion a year to Canadians. Let me talk about the economic opportunity. It's $30 trillion. Wow. Why doesn't the Conservative government, the Conservative opposition that understands full well that we need to grow our economy while protecting our environment, do the right thing? Put a price on pollution, create the investments in public transit, investments in energy efficiency, the investment in Canadians.
Honourable member for Carleton.
Well, the question was how much this carbon tax would cost the average family. We know that through the Finance Department's document that the costs will, quote, cascade throughout the economy. It will raise grocery bills, home heating bills, gasoline costs at the pump, and in thousands of other ways force Canadian families to pay more. So will the government end the carbon tax cover-up and indicate how much will the average family be forced to pay for this carbon tax?
Honourable Minister of Environment.
Interestingly, the document in question was prepared in 2015 before our government came to power. So I assume the party opposite knows the answer. We don't do ATIPs, our public servants do. We don't interfere in them. The previous government, I'm sure, knows that putting a price on pollution makes sense. It's a way to reduce pollution, increase innovation, and grow our economy.
Order. The member for Carleton.
In question was produced the day after the last election when finance officials were calculating how much the Liberal plan to impose a carbon tax would cost Canadians. They produced a briefing document on income deciles to determine how much people would have to pay for the carbon tax. Now, this government is in continued possession of that document, and surely they've done other calculations since. So, simple question. How much will the carbon tax cost the average Canadian family?
Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Speaker, 80% of Canadians live in a jurisdiction where there's a price on pollution. And let me tell you what's happening there. They're the fastest growing economies in the country. Alberta, British Columbia, Ontario, and Quebec. We need to take action on climate change because climate change is real.
That's right.
There is a real cost. And I would wish the party opposite would understand that we need to leave a more sustainable future to our kids, and we also need to make sure they have good jobs, and that goes together, so get with the program.
Honorable Député.
The Honourable Member for Louis Saint-Laurent.
Carleton.
Monsieur le Président, le gouvernement.
Mr. Speaker, the government has documents indicating how much it will cost for middle-class families. They calculated how much it would cost. So why keep this secret rather than ending the secrets and revealing it? I call on the government to reveal how much the carbon tax will cost for a typical family.
I go to the Honourable Minister of Environment. I remind the Minister to direct her comments to the Chair. The Honourable Minister of Environment.
Alors, Monsieur le Président.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as the member across the way knows, it is up to provincial governments to decide how they will put that price on pollution. I'll take the example of BC. What did BC do? They put a price on carbon and then gave the money from the revenue back to people. So we can invest in clean technology. and it's up to provincial governments to do that. I encourage the member opposite to talk to the Conservative government of Manitoba, which recognizes that we need to put a price on carbon.
Well, it will be news to anyone who's read 200 pages of the recent government budget that the provinces will decide what the price on carbon will be. In fact, it is this government which is imposing that price, a $50 a tonne price nationwide, so it is not a provincial decision. And every time a budget bill is introduced, finance officials do the calculations on what it will cost Canadian taxpayers, which means this government has those numbers. So once again, how much will an average Canadian family pay under this new nationally mandated Liberal carbon tax?
Honourable Minister of Environment.
But it is up to provincial governments to determine what to do with the revenues from carbon pricing. They can return the revenues in a tax cut. If you like tax cuts, then you should support putting a price on pollution and returning it directly back to people. Maybe you want to invest in innovation. I'm not sure the party opposite does, but if you wanted to invest in clean innovation, you could do that. There is a huge price on pollution right now. I have 3 kids. Kids are demanding that we take action to protect our environment and create good jobs. I really wish the party opposite would do that.
Honourable member for Carleton Trail, Eagle Creek. Honourable member for Carleton Trail, Eagle Creek. Honourable member for Carleton.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it will be further news to the Premier of Saskatchewan that provinces have full discretion about this carbon tax, as the minister has just indicated. Rather, he's been forced to go to court to fight against this government's national imposition of a carbon tax. And ironically, the participants in that lawsuit will be deprived of information on what the tax will cost. For the sake of our legal system, will they at least reveal how much the average Canadian family will have to pay in taxes?
The Honourable Minister of Environment.
I don't know how much more clear I can be. It is up to provinces to determine what to do with the revenues. Right. So the province of Saskatchewan is well within its right to take the revenues and do a tax cut, to take the revenues and reduce their PSD. They could make investments in innovation. And in fact, it actually would help in Saskatchewan, where they use carbon capture and storage. It would incent people to use that technology. It would be cheaper and would allow made-in-Saskatchewan solutions like we are doing across the country. We are going to grow a clean economy. The
Honourable member for Carleton.
All right, Mr. Speaker, this question is for the Justice Minister. This Justice Minister will be appointing lawyers to fight Saskatchewan and the people of Saskatchewan in the court of law. Obviously, people from that province are standing up and fighting for their rights and opposing this nationally imposed carbon tax. So, the Justice Minister will be heading up the litigation. Will she provide evidence to the court so that they can carry out a proper deliberation on how much this carbon tax will cost the average Canadian?
Honourable Minister of Environment. Order.
Mr. Speaker, putting a price on pollution is well within the right of the federal government. But we want to work with provinces and territories. We want to build a cleaner future. We want to make sure we grow a clean economy. And this is the opportunity. I don't understand why the party opposite refuses to see this. We are in the clean growth century. Clean solutions will create good jobs. The innovation we do in Canada, in Saskatchewan, in British Columbia, in Ontario are innovations that we can use across the country and across the world to build a more sustainable future, to grow our economy.
I remind the honourable member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies, and other members that it's not appropriate to be interrupting when someone else is speaking. Honourable member for Battleford's Lloydminster.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals continue to strong-arm Saskatchewan. They refuse to recognize that this carbon tax will have a devastating impact on my province. The Agricultural Producers Association of Saskatchewan has said the federal government does not understand basic agricultural economic realities. Farmers will be unable to pass along the interest to their increased costs to their customers. Yet the government continues to threaten the province, and now they have landed themselves in court. When will this Prime Minister stop being a bully and quit forcing a tax on Saskatchewan?
Honourable Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I've made very clear, it is well within the right of Saskatchewan to make a tax cut, putting money back into the pockets of the people of Saskatchewan. And then we can reduce pollution and put money back in the pockets. And you know what? I go to Saskatchewan and I see the amazing innovation in the agricultural sector. Farmers get it. They are seeing the droughts. That is impacting on their crops. But they know how to do zero-till agriculture, climate-resilient crops. All these innovations that we are able to export to the world and create jobs right in Saskatchewan.
I'm having trouble hearing the answers when members like member for Yorkton Melville and others are yelling throughout the answers. Order. Honourable member for Cypress Hills Grasslands.
Mr. Speaker, this is no opportunity. This Liberal carbon tax punishes farmers and rural communities. APAS President Todd Lewis said carbon taxes do not work. Producers cannot pass on the increased costs, and the federal government has no idea about this basic economic reality. Saskatchewan is unique. It has a climate change strategy that will work for us and it will work for agriculture. We should not have to go to court to protect that. The Liberals are running roughshod over the provinces where the economy is still working. How can the Minister of Public Safety look his constituents in the face as his government's carbon tax drives them right out of business?
Honourable Minister of Environment.
I will continue to try to explain basic economics. Putting a price on pollution is a conservative concept. It's putting a price on what you don't want, pollution, so what you get, what you do want, innovation. The government of Saskatchewan can take the price on pollution, put it back in the pockets of farmers. Farmers are feeling the impacts of climate change. They are seeing droughts. They are seeing flooding. That is impacting on their crops. We all are in this together, and I wish the Conservative Party would join us too.
Alors, l'honorable député de Beauce, c'est très bien.
Order. The honourable member for Beauce.
Je sais que l'honorable.
I know that the honourable member for Beauce respects the question period in the House of Commons, and so I would ask him not to yell during the answers.
Okanagan, West Kootenay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister of Natural Resources often stands in this House and proclaims that the Kinder Morgan pipeline will be built. But his own ministerial panel on Kinder Morgan posed this question: how can you square the impact of this project with Canada's climate action commitments? Yes. Now, since the economy and the environment go hand in hand, can he stand here and proclaim that Canada will meet its 2030 Paris climate targets, and if not, why not?
Honourable Minister of Environment.
Mr. Speaker, we understand the environment and the economy go together. Unfortunately, we have one party on this side that doesn't want to protect the environment, the party on this side that doesn't want to grow the economy. Right. We understand that we can do both. When we made the decision to approve the Trans Mountain expansion, we made sure that we were protecting the environment, that it fit within our climate plan, that we were protecting our oceans, and we also recognized the huge opportunity to create jobs in Alberta, British Columbia, and across the country.